Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following week. My name is Colton Brown, and joining me, it's Andrew Meadows. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Doing well. Can't complain.
That's good. It's good.
Seen some good movies lately. We're going to talk about a good movie on this episode. We're finally, well, I guess we can say that we are officially done with Star Wars. We've put Star Wars in the rearview mirror, and we're full steam ahead with 2020. I guess technically we're talking about a quote-unquote 2019 movie today in 1917, but it had its wide release in 2020. So it's, for all intents and purposes, it's really the first 2020 film that we're diving into. I feel
like for future episodes, though, I will refer to this as a 2019 movie. Is that fair?
Yes, I think because of the way that it is being considered for, the major award circuits and such, it's being lumped in with the 2019 film. So yes, given that we are going to be doing a look back at 2019 very soon, it's probably going to be appropriate if we were to do such a thing to consider 1917 as part of the films that are eligible for such awards for such
recognition.
Recognition. Right. Yeah, that's a good word that I'm looking for. So yes, 2019 film, and in a way, it kind of makes sense that we would cover all the 2019 films we can before we actually talk about the films that came out in 2019, in review of all of them. So yes, we are in 2020. We got way behind on things with the Star Wars coverage and everything, but now we're pretty much kind of back up to speed, and this ended up coming out, I think, after the new year anyway. So like I said, it's kind of a weird one where it's a sort of 2019, sort of 2020 movie. But I was just going to say, I think, if nothing else, I feel like it's a promising start for the year, at least in terms of films. But maybe we'll dip our toes into that a little bit later when we get into the coverage of the film itself. Do you have any fun facts about 1917?
I do.
So, a very technically impressive movie. There might be some things you could talk about.
So Rian Johnson actually gave a very insightful tweet about this movie.
Did he now?
He did. He said, this is coming from Rian Johnson, at Rian Johnson, which I think is is that called a handle? I don't tweet.
Yeah, that sounds right. So, Twitter handle. Yeah, this is the director of Knives Out, Star Wars: The Last Jedi, Looper, and Brick and such. So
that's right.
Man knows what he's talking about.
And I don't have a date on this, but the tweet goes
January 19th. This was 4 days ago.
4 days ago, Rian Johnson, he says last night, which would have been January 18th, he says last night at the PGA Awards, and that is the Producers Guild of America Awards, not the Pro Golf Awards.
Not to be confused with golf, correct.
Yeah, that's right. Mendes, that would be the director of 1917, told me 1917 was actually shot in one continuous take. If an actor flubbed a line, they'd go all the way back and start again from the beginning. They paid Cumberbatch to show up every day and wait in that room at the end. He was there.
He was there 6 months.
Just every day going and sitting in the room for 8 hours.
He followed up. Did you see the follow-up tweets on this as well?
No.
Okay, he followed up and said they paid him $23 million, and they had a production walkie-talkie stashed in the bunker. He'd wait in character a few times a day. The walkie would squawk, quote-unquote, going again. One of the co-writers of the film, Christy Wilson Cairns, also chimed in response, saying, quote-unquote, can confirm.
That's absolutely fucking hilarious.
There's a tweet here about Cumberbatch's set diary being wild. I heard the crew getting close, but then Mendes yelled, "Oh, bother." Which I later learned was because an actor had tripped on his gun's shoulder strap and ruined the take. Meantime, I've taken up origami and I'm quite good.
He said that? Cumberbatch said that?
No. It was someone replying to Rian Johnson at Joe's turn. Joe Heaney. Full credit owed there. Yes, that is, of course, not entirely accurate, but quite funny indeed.
Fun fact. It is literally
one of the most
factual.
I mean, it's more fun than fact, but hey, we live in a society, and so who really gives a fuck about facts and such, right?
That's right. What do they call that?
Fake news? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, that's what
fake
we're talking
news.
about.
Hashtag fake news. You heard it here first. Yeah. Well, we do have a lot of news to talk about on this
Legit
episode.
news, not fake news.
No, all legit news. I think it's all legit anyway. It seems to be sourced pretty well. I made sure everything... I like to make sure everything is sourced well. I like to, cite my sources and make sure that, we're not just, we're not just floating the rumor mill. We're talking about the good shit, the real shit. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to get into things by talking about a trailer. I know you want to talk about a trailer, don't you?
I love talking about trailers.
I think you do. Do you want to... Well, let me ask you this. Do you want me to talk about a trailer, or do you want to talk about a trailer? Are you itching to talk about anything right now, or do you want me to start it off?
I'll talk about a trailer.
All right. What do you want to talk about?
The trailer that I would like to talk about is I'm gonna pull from an area that I think might surprise you because I pulled this trailer out of order. But
okay.
I saw it and I'm real fucking excited about it. So I'm just
You're real fucking excited about it. All right, well, go for it.
I can't. We got a Clone Wars final season, season 7.
Yeah. So
of the fucking Clone Wars. And it looks like. Go ahead. You just go ahead. Lead off.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say we spoke a little too soon when we talked about the Clone Wars on our non-spoiler coverage of The Rise of Skywalker. I think we gave a date that was reported then as February 17th. It's February 21st. I just wanted to make that small correction up front. But also, we probably could have just held out. Had I known we were getting a trailer within like days of recording that, we probably would have waited for once, but fuck it. We're talking about the Clone Wars twice because we got some shit to talk about, and I'm going to let you talk about that shit. Apologies for cutting you off.
Man, we got Ahsoka. We got Darth Maul.
We got Ahsoka versus Darth Maul.
We got Ahsoka versus Darth Maul. We've got a really shitty looking Anakin. Like he looks pissy.
He looks a little Vader-esque, you might say.
Yeah, a little grumpy. We'll see where he takes. I'm curious to see where this season ends because we have Ahsoka in Rebels, right? Which is post Clone War era. And we have, and I really like Ahsoka as a character. I mean, she's awesome. She really is. I'm just real excited to see where it goes, man. It's cool. We got another season. I'm real excited.
Just when you guys thought we were done talking about Star Wars, buckle up, motherfuckers. We actually have a lot of Star Wars we're talking about on this episode, so maybe it's appropriate that we begin with some Star. Well, I tell you what, let's do something. Let's bookend our Star Wars. What do you think about that?
Yeah,
I'll talk about Star Wars in a second, and then we'll finish our news section with some Star Wars. That's a good little Star Wars bookends. So yes, I definitely just lied about being done with Star Wars coverage. I don't know what I was thinking. Of course, there's more Star Wars. There's always Star Wars news we're going to talk about.
There is always Star Wars. It never goes anywhere. It's always there. It's always present. Always lurking. You have not watched all of Clone Wars, though, have you?
I have not. I've talked about it. I think when we brought it up last that I want to finish up from where I left off so that I could kind of roll right into this new season as it comes out and then roll right into Rebels, hopefully, which I am many, many years overdue from my promise to catch up on it. I think I promised I would watch Rebels before we attended Star Wars Celebration several years ago. It's turning into a role
like Henry's been on me to watch... what the fuck is that show? Goddamn, he even gave me the DVDs to watch it, the Blu-rays to watch it. Legend of Korra. He's been on me to watch Legend of Korra.
All right, yeah, right. But you watched Avatar, but you haven't watched Korra.
I watched Avatar. Okay. I'm like, hey, everybody's got to watch fucking Avatar. So Henry watched Avatar, and then he followed through and went straight into Legends of Korra. He's all hyped about it, and he bought both of them, and he gave me Legends of Korra to watch. And it's been like a year and a half. I still haven't watched it. So
yeah, well, I actually have both of those on Blu-ray myself, so I'm in a similar boat. Except I haven't watched Avatar either, and I've been harassed by multiple parties to get on that. Clone Wars, I will catch up on it. The nice thing, it's all on Disney Plus, and of course, this is coming to Disney Plus as well. Again, February 21st, just to reiterate that date that we now officially have via Star Wars, via Lucasfilm. It's being billed as the final season, quote unquote, the final season, and I think we all expected that, given that this was kind of a unexpected surprise in the first place when they announced that they were bringing it back. So it's cool to see that. I think it was kind of weird, right? Didn't it air, and then there was the weird thing where they put some extra episodes on Netflix later on, and now they're kind of reviving it again. So I wonder if it will provide a proper conclusion, but I say that as someone that has not actually watched all of the prior seasons to know if like it ends with some sort of conclusory note, or if it's more just like, yeah, that was another arc and that's just kind of it. So I don't know. You could probably speak more on that about whether it ended with some sort of actual
be honest with you,
significance, or if it just kind of came and went and just kind of did its own thing. So
I think it just came and went with its own thing.
It's kind of what I figured.
I haven't seen it in like 4 or 5 years.
Well, I tell you what, I mean, that's something I'll be able to speak on because I'm gonna watch it. So maybe future episodes, catching up section, I'll talk about kind of my experience with Clone Wars as it kind of winds down to its then conclusion, and as it now winds down to its ultimate conclusion with this show debuting. So yeah, Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the final season coming to Disney Plus on February 21st. Again, I think that it's saying beginning the 21st, so I think we're again going to be expecting a weekly drop on this. So a drip drop with it, unfortunately. But Star Wars is Star Wars. We have to be excited about it. I mean, we don't have to be, but we are excited about it. So
that's true. Yeah.
So we're looking forward to Star Wars: The Clone Wars. And now I've got, you had good news to start out with, and I got to give you some bad news to create a balance in the Force.
What's your bad news?
You might say. Obi-Wan, another Disney Plus series, Trouble in Paradise. So
no.
Well, all hope is not lost. I will say that. There were some rumors that flew around last week saying they were canning the series entirely, wasn't going to go forward, etc., which is kind of bizarre after they brought out Ewan McGregor on stage not too long ago being like, yeah, it's finally fucking happening. We've been, there's been a film rumored for months and probably years at this point, and then the series was announced and confirmed, and he's coming back, and like everyone and their mother wants Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like they want that. Like that's the thing that I think fans have been clamoring for since literally Disney acquired Lucasfilm. I don't think that's disingenuous to say. So what's happening with Obi-Wan right now is they are putting it quote unquote on hold, and what that means is they are retooling it in the sense that they are going to be, I guess, throwing out the scripts that had been written, of which apparently 2 had been written of a total 6. They're getting rid of them. They're saying, nope, these aren't good enough. Or there's another reason that they cite, which I'll get into in a second. And they're going to find a new writer and basically start from scratch in terms of writing. They're going to be dropping it from a 6-episode count to a 4-episode count. So it's probably going to be closer to kind of a movie in terms of ultimate length, especially if we get Mandalorian-sized episodes, 30 to 40 minutes. That may not be the case, of course. It depends on what those scripts kind of turn out to be. But yeah, we're definitely going to be waiting a while on this one. I think that's the it's such a thing that there's just no version where it makes sense for Lucasfilm to just scrap this project entirely. You know what I mean? Like, again, everyone. Let me ask you this. Maybe you're the counterpoint. Do you want an Obi-Wan Disney Plus series?
I'd take an Obi-Wan series.
You don't need it.
I would say I think his story is. If you're vested in Rebels, if you're vested in Clone Wars, and if you're vested in, just like the fucking movies, I think that there's. Don't get me wrong. I guess there's like one-off adventures that could be told. But I think that the Rebels arc could have been told in a live action fucking medium.
And it would have been really cool.
Yeah, it would have been really cool. But the story's been told. Story's been told through fucking Rebels. So,
I'd agree with you. It's not a sense of need, and it's going to ultimately kind of come down to what realistically can we have Obi-Wan doing other than fucking around on Tatooine, right? That's kind of what it has to come down to, because he's theoretically there to protect Luke, which ties into what I was referring to earlier. One of the things that the Hollywood Reporter is saying about why they may have scrapped the current scripts is that it reportedly was treading very similar ground to The Mandalorian, in the sense that it was him overseeing a baby Luke, and maybe even a baby Leia, which is awfully similar to The Mandalorian and the child.
Yeah,
right?
Stupid. Don't do that. Please don't do that.
I hope that it's just kind of like, even if it starts with something like, him overlooking Luke, I hope that they do like kind of like an adventure type thing that diverges from that and then maybe circles around back to that. So he's back in place on Tatooine, being old Ben, the hermit that's watching over, the Skywalker legacy and such. But, Ewan McGregor still on board. Deborah Chow still on board. She was a director of 2 of the episodes of The Mandalorian. So it doesn't sound like they're really losing a whole lot in terms of the team, other than the writer. It sounds like they're bringing in some new writers. But I think the biggest thing is just the delay in terms of timeline of when this is going to be filmed. Released and stuff
it can
like
be
that.
cool. It could be cool. I love Obi-Wan as a character. He's like one of my favorites.
And Ewan McGregor is the
Fucking
bright spot of the
Obi-Wan.
prequels.
Yeah.
He's
awesome.
fantastic. So I think that's probably the thing that gets me excited about it, regardless of what it's about, is I know that he will take even bad material and make it better. And hopefully, if you give him good material, I mean, that's tantalizing, is it not? So,
and here's the thing, too. Who says it has to take place around Luke?
sure.
Who says
Absolutely.
that it can't be like a fucking Qui-Gon Jinn fucking thing? That would be fucking cool.
Yeah. Yeah,
Of
I think
course,
there's
I
a
guess
certain...
I guess he's a little old for that.
I
now.
think the trouble you run into there is, can you convince me that Ewan McGregor is 30 years younger than he is? Maybe not, but...
How old is that dude?
I don't know. I guess late 40s.
Late
He looks
40s?
good for his age.
Yeah.
That's my rough guess. Let's find out.
Age
let's
check.
see. 48. Yeah, I was
48.
I was
Late
good.
40s. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he looks great for his age, but he doesn't look 20s.
He doesn't look.
He doesn't
20s.
look
Yeah. True.
30s is arguable. You know what I mean? But like, yeah. Anyway, that's what gets me excited, is his involvement. So as long as he remains attached to the project, Deborah Chow's involvement also gets me excited about it. I get it right. It's fine. But, there will be other Star Wars in the interim, which maybe we'll talk about a little bit later. It's fine. Get it right. I think that's the bottom line. Get it right. So bad news right now, but maybe good news in the long run. Hopefully. All right, let's switch out of Star Wars mode. What else you got?
Changing gears. We're gonna change gears into the our next favorite thing, and that's Marvel news.
Okay.
With a little bit of spice in there, with a little bit of not Marvel-owned news, maybe a little bit of Sony-owned news with a little Marvel studio action in there. You know what I'm saying? That's to say,
Sony, so well known for making excellent projects with their Marvel properties.
That's right.
Especially when Marvel Studios has absolutely no involvement. That's when they're at their best.
Well,
i.e.,
it
Venom,
is the same studio
a real
that
cinematic
provided-
classic.
it's the same studio that provided Spider-Man: Far From Home
It's the studio that distributed it. That's correct.
and Venom.
And put up the money for it, I suppose.
And now they're coming out with Morbius.
Morbius. Yes.
finally get a
Everyone was
teaser
clamoring for their
trailer.
Michael Morbius movie, weren't they?
We get a finally trailer for the Michael Morbius shit.
Starring.
Starring Jay Leno. Wait, not Jay Leno. What the fuck?
Honestly, I'd fucking watch that movie. That sounds great. So yeah, I'm a vampire now. I'm a vampire. What have you been up to lately? It's my very bad Jay Leno impression for those. Just imagine a pronounced Chen and it works.
Jared Leto.
Jared Leto? Is that who we're looking for?
What I'm looking for, yeah.
Damaged. Mr. Damaged himself.
Damaged. But one Requiem for a Dream dude. And Blade Runner 2049. Jesus Man. And he was in that band.
30 Seconds to Mars?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Way to pick me up, dude. He's got quite the career, this man.
It's eclectic. It's eclectic, we'll say.
Let me tell you something about him, okay?
Some good, some bad. A lot of personal life.
I think
Questionable at best.
I think he's kind of creepy. I think he's a little weird. I think he's not creepy. I just think he's a little weird. Okay?
No, I think he's creepy too.
He may be creepy, but I just think he's weird.
He likes to slide into the DMs sometimes.
I don't know anything about his DM activity, okay? I don't know
of the underage women.
I don't know anything about that. You have to tell me about that. I don't know anything about it. But what I do know, strictly on actor prowess, I don't think he's a bad actor. I think he's just a little fucking crazy when he gets his roles. I think he fucking dives in deep.
He's capable. He's a capable actor. which is, I think, kind of disappointing when, I don't know, I'm at this point where I'm full-blown on the Jared Leto hate train in the sense that I'd be fine never seeing him in another project in my life ever again.
Yeah, okay, I get it.
He had a goodwill from Dallas Buyers Club for like a couple of years, and then basically Suicide Squad was kind of what squandered any sort of real goodwill that I had toward him. He was fine in Blade Runner. He wasn't great. He was fine. You know what I mean? This is, he looks better in this than he looked in Suicide Squad. You know what I mean? Like, this feels more like him. Like, Joker is honestly
fucking terrible.
Just one of the worst performances I've seen in such a long time. Such an abysmal take on the character, whether it's a result of David Ayer's bullshit, behind the camera,
I
combination of that with Jared Leto not really just going for it in some way. He definitely went for something, right?
And David Ayers
whoever's to blame, and a lot of his
up.
footage ended up on the cutting room floor, et cetera, et cetera. You can point fingers anywhere you want, but holy shit, the final product was unbearable. It was just absolutely abysmal.
Bad.
So I think that this is a little bit more, I guess, a little bit more enjoyable. Like I watch this and I don't think, oh yeah, Jared Leto, playing a vampire guy, like that's total miscast. I'm like, no, he looks like a vampire.
He could totally play a vampire,
that.
Right? Yeah, totally.
I think he's a weird vampire man. I get that. I think that's good casting. I just don't want to watch him. And also, I don't want a fucking Morbius movie. I mean, that's probably the broader point is, what is Sony doing? I kind of get, I get Venom. I'll give you Venom. Venom's a very popular comic book character. We talked about the movie. It's bad. That's the bottom line, right? But it made a lot of money. It makes sense that Sony would want to further kind of the usage of the properties that they own via Marvel.
Do they own Carnage?
Well, they do, and you don't remember old Woody Harrelson showing up in post credits?
Yeah, that's right.
There's gonna be carnage.
Why not go into that?
We'll get that in Venom too, hopefully soon. Directed by Andy Serkis. Maybe it'll be better. It has to be, right? Morbius is just kind of a character that doesn't really. I mean, I would argue Morbius is barely a character you'd even want to use as a villain in a Spider-Man movie, let alone someone that would get his own standalone project where he is the main character. I get Venom, but Morbius to me is just like, that's a stretch. I mean, it's like the time when we talked about like, oh yeah, remember that one time Sony wanted to make an Aunt May movie and they're going to make a Silver Sable movie and a Black Cat movie, and I'm like, these are all just bad ideas. Like, no one's asking for any of these things, and I think Morbius is kind of in the same vein. Except
you'd be much better off having
they actually made it this time.
Like I wonder who owns the Marvel Dracula? Who owns that?
I believe that Marvel themselves do
own Dracula.
I think so, because I think people want him to show up in the Blade movie that they're doing.
Yeah, see, that would be fucking cool. All right, that'd be all right. But fucking Morbius is.
And again, like I said,
I'm with you. I want the fucking Craven.
Craven. I mean, Craven's the obvious choice. I feel for a Spider, the third Spider-Man movie that they're going to do, which will have Marvel Studios involvement. I guess there's just things about this. It's Sony making their own movie, and it's fine. Again, I get it from a business standpoint. They own these properties. At least they own the film rights to these properties. It makes sense for them to capitalize on that, make the movies that they're going to make. I just kind of feel like picking their projects is a little bit odd. Venom totally makes sense. Super popular character. I'd be hard-pressed to imagine a world where Morbius performs anything to the level nearing Venom. And to me, it's clear that they know that, because there's a couple things in this trailer that are mighty interesting that almost make it seem like Sony realizes, oh shit, this isn't a popular character.
Like
what can we do to make this a little bit more appealing for our viewers? Well, the first thing, which I think is maybe the less bizarre thing, actually, in its own sort of way, is we see Jared Leto walk past a poster of a certain web slinger at one point.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Which is of the Raimi costume. It's the Sam Raimi Spider-Man costume. Which has just kind of been like, okay, does this take place in the Raimi verse? What's going on here? But it has graffiti on it that says murderer, which ties into the Far From Home ending where Mysterio framed, Spider-Man as, having these drones attack people and in London and stuff. So it's like, all right, well, that's a little bizarre. Also, the source of that image is literally just the loading screen from the Spider-Man PS4 game with the Raimi suit equipped. Incredible. Incredible, first of all. Maybe it's a placeholder for the trailer. Maybe not.
Lord have mercy. What's that mean?
The bigger thing is fucking Michael Keaton showing up at the end. Like, what? Venom was very much separated, right? From he didn't have a spider emblem. There's no real reference to a broader thing. Like, aliens were like an unheard of concept in Venom, which, if it had taken place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, aliens were a big deal in 2012, not so much, 2017, 18, whatever, Here, we now have Adrian Toomes showing up. The Vulture is showing up, which seems to imply that Morbius and Venom are now part of the same universe. It's just weird. It feels almost like what it feels like Daredevil. Like, it feels like Luke Cage. It feels like Jessica Jones, of just being like, look, we're hanging out with the cool kids too, and then the cool kids are just being like, I don't know who the fuck you are. I've never seen you in my life. Don't ever talk to me or my family again. Like, that's honestly what this is going to feel like, because I don't doubt that Sony is doing everything in their power to be like, look, no, we're cool. We know we're one of the cool kids too, and I have to imagine, like, Kevin Feige is like, no.
What the fuck are you guys doing?
Absolutely not. Jared Leto will never appear in a Marvel Studios film. Like, I would be shocked beyond shocked if Morbius ever appeared alongside a Tom Holland Spider-Man. I would be blown away. I can see Venom happening because again, a popular character. I think there's a way that they force that and we get some horrible product that results from it. But I see that happening. I can see it happening. I'm sort of mentally preparing for when it inevitably does. But just to throw Jared Leto Morbius in there, what's it going to do? Bite Spider-Man? I don't know. It's just weird. It's just a couple weird things. And again, to me, this almost feels like this is a fucking post-credit scene that they just tacked on in the trailer to be like, look, it's connected. Cool. Like, I would not be shocked if this is very plot irrelevant in this film. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am. But I don't know. Part of me honestly just thinks that for Marvel Studios to be able to continue making the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, they had to concede some ground on certain things, and this feels like maybe that's what it was. It was just like, okay, you can have Michael Keaton show up in your movie, but that's it. We're never referencing it. Or maybe he didn't say that out loud, but in the back of his head, he's just like, that's all you're getting. That's it. That's all you get. So anyway, does the movie look any good to you? What do you think?
I think Jared Leto looks like a vampire man.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Jay Leno, Jared Leto. Mm-hmm. I think he looks like a vampire man. I think that's okay casting.
He does look like a vampire man.
I would just be fine with a vampire movie. I prefer just a vampire movie.
Honestly, in a weird sort of way, this looks like it's riffing on Batman Begins for most of it. It's like an origin story. Like, there's a lot of little cinematography in here that's almost one for one.
Yeah.
But Morbius Begins. Maybe that's what they'll call it.
Morbius Begins. I just don't know.
I guess I wouldn't say, again, this doesn't look bad, I guess. Like, it doesn't look... It's not Cats, or anything like that, where it's just like, what the fuck? It's just a concept for me that's more bizarre and it looks generic as all hell. And the way that Venom was kind of generic as all hell, was like, this feels again like a throwback to an early 2000s superhero film. It's a real Daredevil, a real Elektra, Fantastic Four type situation.
But this one's just based about a villain. Like, right. And
the Raimi Spider-Man suit doesn't fucking help either, so honestly, if this was in the Raimi-verse, I'd be all down for it. That'd be great. Fuck it. Bring it back. Bring the Raimi-verse back. I'm in. I think it comes out in July. It's fine. We've been talking about Morbius for too fucking long. Maybe we should move on.
Yeah. You got any news? I think that was my news, I think.
Let's talk about another series that's put on hold. I'm just coming at you with some bad news to start off. Mindhunter.
No.
Going on ice at Netflix, quote unquote. So the cast have been released from their contracts. Usually not a good sign if you're trying to make more. But Netflix is saying that it's not canceled, it's not over. They just don't want to move forward until David Fincher, who is the producer of it, wants to move forward and has basically the time to do it. And they kind of felt that it was unfair to, restrict the cast from being able to do other shit, basically by kind of locking them into the rein of their contracts. So Fincher, I guess, is busy directing a movie for Netflix right now. He's also producing Love, Death, and Robots, another season of that. So he's a busy man, busy doing other things. Love,
Death, and Robots was pretty sweet, though. I did enjoy that.
Yeah, I never watched it. And I guess it's fair. I think Fincher was extremely heavily involved in both seasons of this. It kind of makes sense that even if he was too busy, like he wouldn't want to let it go and be like, oh, you worked on the show for 2 seasons. Why don't you just take it over and, I'll just quote unquote executive produce, which is just slap my name on it and you do your own thing. I think Fincher's too much of a control freak to want to do something like that, to have that sort of arrangement. So I guess I don't know if it's really necessarily tied to viewership numbers or anything like that. Obviously, Netflix is very stingy about talking about that sort of thing, except for The Witcher, which apparently is fucking bananas numbers or something like that. I don't fucking know. I don't know. You finished season 2. I did not. I think you liked season 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I feel like seasons 1 and 2 were really well received, really good, well performed. Well, everything was good about them. So it's just interesting. I just wonder if this is, again, another Obi-Wan situation of, well, we just got to get the timing right, and unfortunately the timing is just not right now for this or that reason. So it kind of sucks, because I know I do want to, I will at some point go back and watch the second season, or I guess I should say finish the second season. I think I watched 1 or 2 at most, but
Mindhunter's good stuff, dude. It's real good.
It's a really good show. It's really, really good first season. We talked about it, obviously had an episode on it a while back, kind of, when it came out, but yeah, hopefully things work out in the end again with this one. Hopefully Fincher can do his thing and come back and, deliver a strong third season. I don't think this is the type of show that needs a million seasons, you know what I mean? But it feels like more than 2 would be good, because I don't think season 2, again, you could speak on this more than I can. I don't remember.
It wasn't the same run.
People perceiving it as like, oh, this is it for this show. Like, it still felt like there was still more to come. But maybe I'm wrong, having not seen it.
No, totally. I mean, I think it felt like it very much felt like an extension of, you could have taken season 1 and just had season 1, I feel like. You know what I mean? It would have been okay.
For sure. I think so. But it's just like, once you start with season 2, I kind of feel like maybe...
Yeah, you want
I don't know.
more.
It feels like a 3 to 4 season kind of show, I guess, in my brain. Maybe just I expected more, and that's why I feel that way. I'm not sure, but... We'll see what happens with it. If there's any updates on that, then we'll keep our listeners apprised. But until then, don't expect Mindhunter in the near future. Let's put it that way. What can we expect in the near future? Anything else? Anything good? Anything
You
bad?
can expect Billie Eilish to perform No Time to Die.
Oh, Sir William Eyelash. That's not true. It's Billie Eilish. The 18-year-old multi-platinum selling and Grammy Award nominated singer.
Holy shit, can you imagine?
18 years old. It's insane. She is the youngest artist in history to write and record a James Bond theme song.
Fucking A.
Yeah, she's fucking 18 years old. I can't even wrap my head around that.
That's nuts.
Touring the world, huge, crazy, sold-out crowds. I saw her, at Austin City Limits last year.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was madness.
Was she good?
I mean, she was good. The issue I had was not with her, it was with her crowd singing so fucking loudly that they were almost drowning her out on her own microphone.
Really?
Yeah, it was nuts. It was a huge, huge crowd. It was fun. But I was like, oh, I want to listen to her sing. Like, I don't want to listen to a bunch of 13-year-olds sing in unison over top her. But that's concerts for you. It is what it is. Yeah, she's going to be writing the title song alongside her elder brother Phineas, who they work together on all her music and everything. So
her older brother who?
Older brother Phineas. It's his name, Phineas.
Phineas Herb?
No, I don't think Herb's in there.
Phineas?
But it's a good pick, right? I think it's a obviously a good pick in the sense of she's, again, blown the fuck up, massively popular. So let's go after a popular artist. But I also feel like I think she might deliver a banger here. I'm pretty excited to see what she comes up with.
I am excited about that.
I think, she's got kind of a whispery kind of talky kind of tone, and I think a lot of her songs sound similar to each other. And I don't think we're going to see anything like super bombastic. Like, this isn't going to feel like, my name, Chris Cornell, or anything like that. I think we're going to see something that's kind of very...
It's kind of creepy. And just
like stylistically unique, but something that's identifiably Billie Eilish, and I think that's good, having, liking her music and enjoying what she's done in her 18 years of life so far. I think it's a good pick. I think it's going to be successful. And it's not I guess you could say it's a safe pick if you want to criticize it, but like, fuck it.
Is it really?
That's
I don't
fine.
think that's a safe pick at all.
No, I just mean in terms of like couching it in popularity. Like it's, Chris Cornell was kind of that was an odd pick. It was a bit more of a rock influence for that. And then, Quantum, you have Alicia Keys and Jack White, two very successful musicians in their own right, but a weird combination.
That's true.
Turned out a weird song. And then you come out with Skyfall was Adele, hugely popular, made total sense. I think a great theme. And then Sam Smith does Spectre, which again, very popular.
That's true.
Makes sense. So I think that, it makes sense to kind of capture, the popular artists. If they're willing to do it, then why not? And like all those people have something in common. They're all talented. They're not like going out of their way to, just because someone's popular. I think it's more than that. I think it cuts deeper than that. But I think it's safe in the sense that, people are going to pay attention, people aren't going to be disappointed. I don't think too much by the fact that, holy shit, Billie Eilish is doing, 007. Like it's just cool, man. I think it's cool. Anyway, that's my take anyway.
Their mother's Maggie Baird. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Just doing a little Wikipedia search.
Yeah, just a little dive. Their mother's a very successful actress, singer, songwriter, screenwriter.
Did not know that.
Grew up in L.A. Yeah. They were given good opportunity, these two. They are fucking running with it. Good for them. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely good for them. Good choice. Very much on board. Looking forward to Cary Fukunaga's No Time to Die. Cary Fukunaga plus Daniel Craig plus Billie Eilish.
Can't fail.
I'm all in.
Can't fail.
All in. No Time to Die will be released April 10th of this year, so we're looking forward to that. And we are looking forward to maybe we'll find out if we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to Captain Marvel sequel. I mean, I am. Are you?
Yes, definitely Captain Marvel sequel.
All right. Well, I guess this is a kind of, I don't know if this is non-news or anything like that. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I feel like Kevin Feige at Comic-Con or whenever one of those fucking events they did late last year talked about like, oh, and we didn't even talk about a Captain Marvel sequel, blah, blah, blah. Hollywood Reporter is now confirming that there's going to be a Captain Marvel sequel because of fucking course there's going to be a Captain Marvel sequel. It's like, again, it's non-news in the sense of...
Of course there's going to be, right?
Correct. I guess the news that's maybe more news is that the setting is going to be changed. It will no longer be in the 1990s. It's going to take place in the present day.
Okay.
So that's a bit of a shift.
She's going to be a little bit older.
She's going to be a little bit older, although maybe that Tesseract juice that's flowing around slows her aging. She looked pretty good in Avengers, as I recall.
I think she looks good all the time.
I bet you do. I do too. I'll be honest. New writer's coming on board. It's a writer that has worked on the WandaVision television show that is currently in the works, which to me says that maybe Kevin Feige and company are pretty proud of what's going on in that show to elevate a writer from
a show
to this TV show to hey here's the here's go to fucking Captain Marvel 2. You know what I mean? Like that's a promotion, I feel. And the directors of the first film, Anna Boden and Ryan Flick, will not be returning to direct this film. So we'll be getting some fresh viewpoint or viewpoints from behind the lens. Marvel is hoping to find a female filmmaker for Captain Marvel 2.
Cool.
Is what the Hollywood Reporter reports. Makes sense. I think it's a good initiative to actively seek that out. Although it does mention that the directors of the first one, Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, are reportedly in talks to direct something for Disney Plus. So they're not kicking him out of the Marvel Universe. They obviously worked well together. They're just trying to go into a fresh, different take for this new Captain Marvel. Maybe in the way that, like it almost feels like Captain America was, the period piece, and then it moved to a totally different setting for the second one, and they shifted. I guess the writers stayed consistent from Captain America 1 to Captain America 2, but you jumped from Joe Johnston to the Russo brothers, and lo and behold, the Russo brothers made the Marvel Universe basically their own sandbox and gave us two of the most kind of epic movies, epic superhero movies, at least, of all time, with Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. So
they really nailed it, man. They really fucking nailed it. It was good.
Yeah, and talked about Scott Derrickson / Dickerson departing, Doctor Strange on the non-spoiler episode for Rise of Skywalker, which again was unfortunate, but I put my faith in Kevin Feige and company. He usually knows what he's doing. Marvel usually kind of knocks it out of the park in terms of casting. I think they did with Brie Larson, who I'm very excited to see in this role moving forward. And I feel like she's got to be center stage, even when they finally swing back around to doing more Avengers movies. I think she's going to be a big piece of the universe moving forward, and that's exciting. So yeah, Captain Marvel 2 coming at some point in the future with those people attached that I mentioned. The writer's name is Megan McDonnell. I don't know why I didn't name her. So, Megan McDonnell.
A Quiet Place.
A Quiet Place? What?
We got a trailer for The Quiet Place Part 2.
But it already came... Oh, Part 2. Oh, wow.
That's right.
Part 2, huh?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And it looks like it's got a little bit of prequel action, like a little bit of flashback action.
It's a bit of both, right? Yeah, it's a prequel and a sequel, a pre-sequel. A prequel to the sequel.
I appreciate it. I think it's I think that's a good way to go. I think it's kind of got a Walking Dead kind of thing going on, where we've established the fact that there's this monster, right? This is the world we live in with these monsters, and they're like sensitive to sound and stuff. Now the true monsters, that's part of the environment, right? The monsters are now part of the environment. They're just like a fucking hazard. And the true villains are the people that are not worth saving. The true villains are the people that you have to deal with now. You know what I mean?
Right.
It kind of feels like a Walking Dead kind of situation, which, I mean, if you're gonna have a monster movie, you're gonna make a sequel to what you've already made. I feel like that might be just like the default action to go in. I mean, that you live in a world with these monsters, and you have to, if you're moving away from your farm and you're looking for other people, naturally there's going to be really bad shitheads you have to deal with that have survived as well. So
yeah,
it's kind of a realized thing, because I feel like if I had to leave my house in a post-apocalyptic situation, everyone else that's left alive is going to be like, fuck you, like just pieces of shit. So
every man for himself, or every woman for himself, herself, so it's yeah, dog eat dog kind of world. And I don't know, it's been a little while, I guess.
It's a George R. R. Martin.
Seen the first one?
Not George R. R. Martin. What the fuck is his name? George Romero. Sorry.
Yeah.
With the fucking zombies and stuff. It's kind of like a zombie situation, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like we got elements. Again, it's been a little while since I've seen the first one. I don't know that maybe I haven't seen it since it came out in theaters. We talked about it, but I feel like there was still a little bit of an aspect of, there's a few assholes in this world and stuff like that.
I think
but maybe I'm just conflating it with.
I think you deal with them just a little bit, I think.
Yeah, it's obviously much more in the forefront here. That one was kind of worried about the family dynamic, and I think that's still present here, obviously, too. But yeah, it's interesting. I like that they're kind of covering their bases with, here's how shit went down. Now that we've kind of explored the universe once before in an hour and a half, let's give you a little bit more, and then let's tell you what happens next. It looks cool, and I think Jim from The Office is still pretty heavily involved in this. I think he might have wrote the script or co-wrote it or something like that. Did he direct it? Maybe he's directing it too. I don't even fucking know. Let's find out. What do you say we find out? You
take a little Wikipedia dive? Yeah, take a wiki dive.
We'll take a little. Written and directed by John Krasinski, aka Jim from The Office. So yeah, still very heavily involved. Newcomers in the form of Cillian Murphy and Jimon Hansu.
I think Jim from The Office might be taking some inspiration from fucking Romero. I think he's taken some inspiration from his trilogy, from Romero's trilogy.
Yeah, maybe.
Because the first, the Night of the Living Dead was it was black and white. Takes place in a house, very close knit. and then you expand to the fucking mall, where now you have to deal with, not only do you deal with the fucking zombie or the monster, but now you're dealing with other people as well. That's kind of the situation we're getting into. And then we might have like a fucking part 3. There might be like, this might be like a revisioning of Romero's trilogy. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Obviously, probably depends on how this movie ends, if I had to guess. We'll see if...
That's right. We'll see if my prediction is correct.
Well, I mean, I guess to be fair, like, the Romero trilogy was a separate set of characters, I think, for each. So it's
a little bit different.
A little bit different in that regard, whereas here, obviously,
I can see the inspiration, though.
Still following the same characters. Yeah, no, I see where you're going with that. And we'll see where they're going with fucking A Quiet Place Part 2 on March 20th. Not long to wait for this one. The trailer for this actually dropped a few weeks ago, and it totally slipped by me. Probably should have talked about it.
I never saw it, though. I'm glad you put it in there. It was good.
I saw it when I sat down and watched 1917. They played the trailer, and I was just like, oh, shit, I didn't know there was a full trailer out for this. They put out like a little 30-second spot, like a preview type thing around New Year's, and then that was the last I'd heard of it. So, yeah, it was kind of fortuitous that I just happened to catch it there, and we just talked about it now. Let's talk about another trailer, one that came out, I believe, during the College Football National Championship, LSU dominating Clemson. Marvel Studios' Black Widow in theaters May 1st. I got a minute and a half here. There's a lot of footage that we saw in that first trailer with Nat coming home and meeting up with Yelena, played by Florence Pugh. There's kind of the table site sequence with David Harbour's Red Guardian character, with Rachel Weisz, and all of them kind of together. But we got some more action-y type beats throughout this trailer. We got, there was some new in here, I would say. What did you think about the little special look that Marvel Studios so graciously gifted us with?
I'm not overly excited about this movie.
Okay.
I find the what did we call her in the Bond movie? Do you remember what we called her? She was a bae of some sort.
Bond movie?
She was in the blonde lady was in the Bond movie, right? She was the bad person in the Bond movie. What movie was she in?
She was in Midsommar.
Was she? Is that what she was in?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. She
was never in what was the blonde lady in the Bond movie? Not
Which
the
Bond movie.
Fuck, I can't remember. I feel like she was the blonde lady. She's totally not. I can see her face now. Now that I really think about it, I'm sorry.
I don't know where you're going, so I'm
totally wrong. Either way, that blonde lady's Russian accent kind of deviates a little bit in the fucking thing.
Yeah, it's not great.
It's not great, and that's the most egregious thing that I've noticed so far.
I don't even know why they bother with the fucking accents at this point.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean? Like Scarlett Johansson doesn't have one for the character. It's fine. She's Russian or used to be Russian. It is what it is. She's lost her accent or something, because she's been in the U.S. long enough or whatever. She's been a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent for long enough to lose it. I guess, I don't know. It just feels, it's all a bit moose and squirrel, is kind of what it ultimately feels like.
That's right.
It's one of those things. I'm sure I'll get over it in 5 minutes. Watching
you get
the movie.
Used to it. Whatever. You learn to not notice it. But
it's a choice. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine.
If you're gonna stick with it, if you're gonna do it, just fucking stick with it. That's what I say. Yeah. Anyways, it looks like fucking just a regular G.I. Joe action movie, I guess.
Yeah. I will say I think this made me more excited about it than the first trailer did. I just think it was, a better cut, kind of, I guess it was a little shorter, a little snappier maybe. I felt like the action beats looked a little bit more promising, like a lot of hand-to-hand stuff. We got a bit more Taskmaster, who I think looked better in this trailer than he did in the other one.
That's true.
Yeah. Looked more exciting as a combatant. There's a few parts where he's flipping around and doing some crazy shit and standing toe-to-toe and got the shield up, getting shot in the face, doesn't give a fuck, that sort of thing. And then there's the bits where they're like jumping through the sky and falling down and shooting at people and stuff like that. And that's the kind of the G.I. Joey type things I think we talked about when the first trailer came out. It doesn't, it doesn't feel like a spy movie. It feels like an action movie, and that's all well and good. There's nothing wrong with that.
I would appreciate a fucking spy movie. I like a good spy movie.
I think I was hoping for something a little bit, again, I'm sure we talked about this, so apologize if this is rehashing kind of previous thoughts. I would have preferred something a little bit more low-key, I guess, in some ways, than
a little bit cloak and dagger,
sort of usual bombast that you get with Marvel and such. It just feels like a straight action movie more than it feels like
a James Bond movie,
a superhero movie with it doesn't. The action doesn't feel James Bond. It feels G.I. Joe, and I would prefer the James Bond style of action. I think that would make more sense for a powerless character like Nat is. You know what I mean? But they do have some powered characters. Obviously, Red Guardian here is fucking tossing people quite a few feet. So he's clearly juiced up with something. But yeah,
it is what it is.
It looks fine.
We'll see how it is. I'm not overly excited about it. I don't think it's going to be the best Marvel movie, but we'll see.
No, I'm
definitely more excited about
Eternals
than
this year.
Definitely more excited about this than I am Morbius.
Correct. I will co-sign that. Co-sign that. Yes,
that's where we're at.
No, but I think Marvel only has 2 movies coming out this year. They have this in Eternals, and I think Eternals promises to be like potentially some wild shit, and I think that's
where
more exciting.
Yeah.
Like this looks pretty okay. I've seen this movie before, probably most of this movie before. Eternals, who knows what's going on with that? That's exciting. But anyway, May 1st, we'll be there for it. You bet your ass we'll be there for it. You bet your ass we'll be talking about it before long. So, to our bookends, Star Wars, more Star Wars. We've each got some Star Wars to talk about. Why don't you lead with yours?
Taika Waititi.
Get into mine. Taika Waititi, talk to me. What's he doing? Star Wars related?
Leading with Taika Waititi. And apparently he is being sought out for a Star Wars movie. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have the news in front of me like I should because I'm never, ever prepared like I should be.
That's okay. We're just winging it.
But Taika Waititi, I think, is being courted for a movie for a Star Wars movie that takes place well beyond the events of the Rise of the Skywalker. I think they call it the High Republic or something like that. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not sure if those two pieces of news are necessarily related to each other. There was the news that, like, kind of what Lucasfilm, I guess, wants to do moving forward with Star Wars is focus on this High Republic era, which I think is thousands of years before the prequel, or maybe hundreds. Either way, not quite Old Republic, but somewhere kind of in between.
Okay.
The Jedi have been established for quite some time, but it still predates kind of most of those characters that we know from the prequels being around.
I had it backwards then. I thought it took place after.
No, I think they're still wanting to go back in time. Honestly, I think if nothing else, because if we went forward in time, you'd have to jump a lot of time, because I think Lucasfilm would want to leave that gap because they're going to want to make episodes 10 through 12 at some point. Maybe it's not going to happen anytime soon. Maybe it happens in 30 years, whatever. I think they're going to want to make it at some point. I'd be shocked if they didn't consider it and commit to it at some point. So I feel like you have to leave a gap. So it kind of makes sense. Oh, let's just go back in time. But the thing is, they've been so concerned with, what happened between 4 and 5, or what happened between 3 and 4, etc. And it's just like, well, you had this whole fucking set of things that happened. The Old Republic is, had video games around it, hugely popular. They still have the MMO, which as far as I know, is still very popular. There's a lot of things you can do with Star Wars. You don't have to do Skywalkers. You don't have to do Jedi.
One
what
family.
I mean?
Yeah, definitely. We established that with the Mandalorian. There's no Jedi at all.
Right, and again, that kind of falls back into, well, it's a few years after Return of the Jedi, so it's still familiar in other ways, while at least being somewhat fresh in other respects too. I don't know that we have anything concrete on what exactly they're trying to do. I guess maybe the broader point I'm trying to make is I don't know if that's what they want Taika Waititi to make. Taika Waititi, apologies. I don't know if that's what they want him to make, or if they just go out to him and say, "Hey, what do you want?
Star Wars movie?
Hey,
yeah,
look at us.
We'll give you a shit ton of money, dude. Make a Star Wars movie."
Who'd have thought?
Yeah, I'll make a Star Wars movie.
Yeah,
if somebody came to me and said, "Listen, we'll give you ungodly amounts of money to make a Star Wars movie.
Ungodly.
Just make it good. I will surround myself...
Taika Waititi lives and breathes good, man. Like, man, it's very talented. He's a very talented director, writer, actor. And so we saw his sensibilities literally within the Star Wars universe twice, or I guess one time. He directed the finale of The Mandalorian.
And boy, did he direct a finale.
I don't think we've talked about technically to this point.
No, we haven't.
Good. We can say good. Quite good, in fact. Good. So it would make sense that like after that comes out, turns out the way it does, has the reaction that it gets.
Hey, you might want to hire this guy.
Kathleen Kennedy or whoever, Bob Iger is saying, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing next year?
I got a paycheck. Here, just do something.
I know what you're doing. You're making Star Wars for us. And so hopefully this comes to fruition. It's like the...
He really is, though. I mean, he can really embody a Star Wars movie, I think. He's got the humor.
For sure.
And he's got the action down packed. I mean, he really knows how to frame a scene. He knows how to create a scene, too, you know? I mean, he's really a good director. He really is.
And I think the one thing that would maybe lend more credence to this, like, becoming an eventual possibility is, like, he's clearly willing to play ball with Marvel, you know, with the Thor movies that he's made, the Thor movie he's going to make very soon. Like, he's okay with working in a studio system, so it's not like Star Wars would be like this big jump from indie darling to, oh my god, I'm directing a $300 million movie, what do I do?
Right.
He's done it before. Like, he's been there, he knows that.
He's familiar with the territory.
And Hollywood Reporter is even speculating, hey, well, isn't it possible that the Kevin Feige Star Wars movie that we've talked about, maybe these are one and the same?
That's true. It's true.
Which, there's no reason that it's not Kevin Feige ain't directing the movie, you know what I mean? So yeah, we'll see what happens. This is kind of a premature kind of thing of Lucasfilm being like, "Hey, want to make some Star Wars?" And we don't know what he's going to say or what he has said, maybe potentially. But
listen, somebody has to make a fucking Star Wars movie. What do you say?
The crazy thing is, I'm sure shit like this happens all the time of just being like, "Hey, what do you think about Star Wars? You like it enough to make it?" But the fact that it's Taika Waititi is like the reason like all the trades are just being like, report this shit, get it out in the fucking news. Like, people need to know. People got to know about Taika Waititi and Star Wars, you know, being possibilities. So, and I'm glad that I know. I'll be disappointed if it doesn't happen. I will say that.
I completely 100% agree.
So, yeah. So we'll see. We'll keep you guys updated again if anything comes of that. Final bit of news, final bit of Star Wars news.
What do you got?
An interesting one. Got some things we could talk about. I know we're running a little bit long in the news, but some cool stuff here.
And it's all been, it feels like it just, I mean, it feels like we flew through the whole heart of the news in these bookends. I've been excited to talk about the Star Wars the whole time.
Yeah,
and you thought we were done with Star Wars.
Star Wars episode.
Everybody thought we were done with Star Wars. No, we want to talk more about Star Wars. We need to change the podcast to Star Wars.
Watch Star Wars review and repeat.
Do it again next week.
Star Wars review repeat. I think maybe that's better. Some details have come to light on what Star Wars Episode 9 could have been, was once perhaps going to be. And I will say, I guess at the top, potential spoilers for Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. Maybe skip around this if you haven't had the opportunity to see it, listen to our coverage or anything like that. Just flagging it. There's been some leaks concerning Star Wars Episode 9 as envisioned by Colin Trevorrow, who was originally set to write and direct it before J.J. Abrams came on board and scrapped a lot of what had happened. A script leaked, or at least details about a script leaked, so we don't have an actual script itself that is now, you know, floating around in the internet, but we have a lot of details about the story beats from that movie. And I think less than a day ago, maybe yesterday, a whole slew of concept art came out, which is very clearly related to Trevorrow's vision of the film because it lines up with some of those details. So I was going to run through the details that we had, and then we can kind of talk through it and see if there's anything that stands out to you. Talk about the concept art for a second, and then I'm going to pose a question to you of, would you have preferred this over what we got? But I'll save that question
to the very end.
So yes, this film would have been called Star Wars: Duel of the Fates. That would have been the title under Trevorrow's vision. The opening
Cornball.
crawl has apparently leaked in its entirety. I'll read it out for you now.
Very nice. Do it, dude. I haven't heard any of this.
Okay, well, I'm excited to hear your reactions then. The iron grip of the First Order has spread to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Only a few scattered planets remain unoccupied. Traitorous acts are punishable by death. Determined to suffocate a growing unrest, Supreme Leader Kylo Ren has silenced all communication between neighboring systems. Led by General Leia Organa, the Resistance has planned a secret mission to prevent their annihilation and forge a path to freedom. ...
Nice.
The opening crawl.
I like that. That's really good. That's really fucking good.
So it's a little better than the Dead Speak, I think, right off the bat.
I agree, 110%. That sounds amazing. Sounds good.
So how this kind of film plays out is it picks up from The Last Jedi. The First Order has cut off communication to suppress a rebellion, to basically withstand Luke Skywalker doing some badass shit at the Battle of Crate. And so the opening sequence of this movie finds Finn, Rose, and BB-8 stealing a Star Destroyer full of Imperial weapons.
Fucking A.
During this heist, they see a stormtrooper. He sees a stormtrooper with his helmet off that he recognizes. And Rose apparently is front and center through this whole movie. Imagine that. They later go on. Rose and Finn go on a mission to Coruscant to ignite an ancient beacon in the old Jedi Temple, which will call the galaxy to war. At some point, they get imprisoned. Rose gets interrogated by General Hux, and then Finn leads an uprising of defecting stormtroopers in a ground battle in the streets of Coruscant. And by the end of the movie, Finn and Rose lead a group of force-sensitive youth to a remote planet where Rey is waiting to train the next generation of Jedi, and apparently Broom Boy is amongst those youngsters. So that's the Finn and Rose kind of angle of the film.
I just got goosebumps. Just so you know, I just got a little bit of goosebumps. I can feel it in my back.
And moving on to Rey, Kylo Ren's storyline. Kylo Ren still dies by the end, but his arc is a bit different. Palpatine is completely absent from this film. The beginning of the movie, Kylo Ren is off at Mustafar, and he is wallowing around in Vader's old castle. He's haunted by the Force ghost of Luke Skywalker. At one point, fights a hallucinatory version of Darth Vader, kind of similar to the Empire with Luke in the cave. He comes into contact with Palpatine's Sith teacher, Tor Valum, using an ancient Sith device, and he's trying to put an end to the Jedi and the Sith once and for all. So they describe him. The Collider article that I'm pulling from describes him as bad, bad, bad. So no redemption, no Kylo Ren redemption in this film. Rey does believe there's still good in Kylo Ren. Teams up with Poe, and doesn't really have much more details about what they get up to, but I guess that's kind of the pairing for them is, Rey and Poe, which is fun. We haven't had any real interactions between them in 7 and 8. So Rey's parents, still nobodies. However, the kind of plot twist with her parents is that it's revealed that Kylo Ren killed them at Snoke's request.
Which to help build the animosity between her, it kind of holds, it creates a problem between her and Kylo.
So the finale of the movie finds Rey and Kylo Ren on the mystical planet Mortis, with Rey getting assist from the Force ghosts of Luke, Obi-Wan, and Yoda. The Jedi try unsuccessfully to bring Kylo Ren back to the light, but he's too far gone. In the end, he dies. He gets extinguished. They say "quote unquote" extinguished here. So that's kind of the details. I think there's some other details about it floating around, but this one is a little bit more concise, and we don't need to get too in the weeds. So that's kind of the gist of the storyline. There's obviously missing details like what are Rey and Poe up to this entire film. We might know that, but it's not there. So I'm going to turn your attention to the concept art. I'll send you a link real quick, in just case you don't have it in front of you, so you can actually see it instead of just have me describe it to you. Let me know when you're looking at it.
Let's see here.
We'll get going
now. Okay, I'm looking at it.
All right, you're looking at it. So we got right up the front. We got Rey with the dual-bladed lightsaber. Right, we're looking at the same thing.
Dual blue, with a she's wearing some black garb, but she has slain at least 5 stormtroopers with her double-bladed lightsaber.
She's knocked some stormtroopers down. It says on a Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the source on this concept art is. Obviously, someone internal that's almost certainly going to get sued once they track them down, but we appreciate your sacrifice, good sir or madam.
You do it for Star Wars. You do it for Star Wars. That's it.
Yeah, we moving down. We see Coruscant. There's a guillotine on Coruscant.
Oh yes, holy shit!
So we see some intense shit of it looks like a resistance fighter about to be executed
with a fucking laser guillotine.
With a laser guillotine.
Jesus, with no other than Captain Phasma, fucking supervising.
It does look like Phasma. I'm also wondering if it's not actually Phasma, but just someone wearing similar armor. But it definitely looks very Phasma-esque. So does Phasma survive yet another almost death? Maybe, maybe not.
The vision of that picture right there is fucking incredible.
Yeah,
I would have loved to have anything like that in Star Wars.
We see Rey and Luke training on something that's a planet described as Korolev. Don't know anything about that. That wasn't described in what I just talked about. But, we did see kind of the Rey doing the sitting kind of training thing in the beginning of Skywalker.
That's cool.
So that
I'm all about the meditation and stuff. That's cool. What do we got
here?
Crew
flies to Bonadan, where Poe lived with his grandfather. We see, just kind of a new cool setting. Lots of lights and stuff like that. There's a set piece that follows of Poe and Rey being pursued by the Knights of Ren. Oh my God, the Knights of Ren actually doing something? Is such a thing possible? Who knows?
In the Knife 9.
Yeah, I guess that's their ship, and which looks very different than what it ultimately ended up looking like in Skywalker.
Okay,
Although I don't know if it was called the Knife 9. Tor Valum, who is the Sith teacher, which I don't know about that whole thing.
Six-eyed fucking... You remember in Halo? You remember Halo?
Mm-hmm. I know of it, yes.
Where remember when Master Chief fell to like the bottom of the earth, and there was that creature at the bottom of the earth that was like, whoa, blah, blah. I can't remember what he said. It's fucking. Do you remember that?
Yeah, vaguely, yeah.
It's kind of like what Tor Valum reminds me of.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting thing. I mean, obviously, you had Kylo with Palpatine, and the eventual movie that we got here, you have him going to some. It's another thing. It's just creature. Like, oh. We've literally never heard about this existing, but that's still cool. Almost feels less ass-pulley than Palpatine's back, yo.
Okay, so Kylo fights Vader.
Kylo and Vader, and I know a kind of cave sequence. Fine, cool. Not the first time we've seen anything like that. First Order occupied Coruscant.
Holy honestly, shit!
Just a return to Coruscant, I think would be cool, for sure. Like that, like almost like settings, like that would be a good way to tie things together is let's go back to this massive prequel setting that we really haven't seen. And, we knew that Palpatine was a huge part of that. So it kind of makes sense that, you could tie it back that way. See the beacon on Coruscant to broadcast Leia's hologram to the galaxy, apparently, getting the message of hope out there and saying, hey, fight alongside us. R2 and 3PO and Coruscant, very reminiscent of A New Hope, just wandering through the desert, but in a urban setting now.
Yeah, dude.
Fen rallying citizens of Coruscant underground to fight back. Obviously, that's just more or less a keyframe from The Force Awakens with a different background, but Rey facing a huge monster. She faced a snake monster in Skywalker, but it's a little bit of a different looking creature.
It was
there,
a totally
little bit more
different,
Rancor-esque.
Totally different facing of a monster too.
Yeah. Well, when you got a double bladed lightsaber,
that is fucking cool.
Just looks cool.
I think we were robbed. I'm just gonna say it before we finish this. I think we were robbed.
All right. Well, let's plow through here real quick. More Coruscant stuff. They got repurposed ATSTs, stormtroopers. We're gonna fight the citizens. R2.
That's totally
gets
fucking
destroyed
cool,
at one
dude.
point.
Defected stormtroopers and Coruscant citizens cheer around old painted First Order walkers, and they're fucking standing against that That would have been incredible, right? Mm-hmm. Am I wrong?
Yeah. No, there's some very cool stuff in here. R2 getting battle damage with C-3PO alongside him. We see there's a very cool shot of Rey and Kylo fighting. Her with her double blade
lightsaber, dude.
Kylo sporting a Darth Revan-esque new mask from the looks of it,
which is cool as shit.
Luke blocking Kylo's lightsaber, just kind of fucking with him.
Look at him, he just fucking cool face, just holding a fucking lightsaber.
Yeah,
what?
The last couple ones are pretty interesting here. Once it becomes clear the First Order is losing the Battle of Coruscant, Hux pulls out a purple lightsaber and commits seppuku. He's killing himself.
Holy
little
shit!
Odd. But, it's certainly an interesting visual. I don't know if that would have made the final cut, I guess. Probably a little dark for Star Wars, typically. But then you have a Leia and BB-8 kind of very much evoking her in A New Hope recording, the message for Obi-Wan Kenobi. So
that would have been an incredible. Who? This is the director that would have been responsible for this is who?
Colin Trevorrow, who has made a lot of trash, which I think is ultimately why he ended up not making this film. He did Jurassic World. He did Jurassic.
Okay.
No. He co-wrote Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, and he did The Book of Henry, which was apparently just absolutely horrendous. And people are thinking that's why he ultimately got the boot from this movie. So I think there's something to be said for vision versus execution. We hammered that theme home talking about the prequels with George Lucas in the sense that
true.
There's a lot of cool concept art. Like, I think there's a version of the prequels where you look at it and think, oh my God, this sounds amazing on paper. This concept art is so great. And a lot of concept art doesn't always make it in the movie. Sometimes it's just designers thinking, wouldn't this be cool? And kind of just, that's their way to kind of show it off. So this isn't necessarily what we would have gotten. We could have gotten these exact themes, these exact storylines, executed extremely poorly, or executed extremely well. It's hard to say. It's all pure speculation. But again, we'll turn back to that question. I think I know the answer, but assuming this to be reflective of what the final product would have been, at least a semi-competent version of this,
I think
churned
it would have
out
been
by
fucking
Colin
incredible.
Trevorrow and company. This you think this is a little bit more of your speed?
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
I think I agree overall. Duel of the Fates, definitely a better name than The Rise of Skywalker, first of all.
But at the same time, I think it's cornball. I think it's definitely a cornball name. Duel of the Fates. But
I mean, they're just cribbing it from old John Williams himself. So.
That's it. But at the same time, that the art and the direction of the movie sounds fucking really cool.
I think the thing that I like about it most is it doesn't feel like it's ignoring The Last Jedi. Almost for that reason alone, it's just like, yeah, Finn and Rose, they're a pair now. Let's keep them paired up and have them go on a big mission through this and stuff like that. And Kylo is the big bad. Well, yeah, he's the big bad. He's doubling down. He's the big bad. Like it feels like this feels like a movie that was written to respond to The Last Jedi.
Right.
And there's elements that I think are dumb. Like Kylo Ren killing Rey's parents is completely unnecessary. I think that's dumb. I don't think it's any more dumb than anything that we got in the final version of The Rise of Skywalker, to be fair. In fact, it's probably less dumb than Grandpappy Sheev, but she fucks. I think that there's still maybe some problems in this, and we don't know enough to definitively say if this is necessarily better or would have been better. But yes, I like these ideas on paper more than what I got.
Is it
and
okay?
It's not
is it okay that none of us care about Rey's parents? Nobody cares about Rey's parents. We care about Rey.
I think it's fine.
Why
I think it's
is
completely
it?
fine.
Why is it so imperative that our parents serve such a role? You know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
Like, why can't you just have a fucking character that the lineage doesn't matter? And that should be.
Well,
I mean,
it's clear that JJ was teeing something up with that in The Force Awakens, and then Ryan was just like, "No, I don't care." And I think that
I think that's totally okay.
Once he delivered the answer of it doesn't really matter. In fact, they were just a bunch of junk traders that sold her for drinking money. Like, that's an acceptable answer. You know, if you're expecting Rey Kenobi, or God forbid you were expecting Rey Palpatine several years ago somehow, it is what it is. But like, yeah, I agree with you. I think that I was satisfied with the answers I got in The Last Jedi. I understand not everybody was, but I just think it's important. The synergy, like this, again, just would have felt like, oh, this feels like it's closing the sequel trilogy, and hey, they're bringing Coruscant back. That's a little prequel-esque. There you go. It's a little bit, it's tying in somewhat to the other ones, but not feeling like, oh my God, we have to end these 9 movies. It's like, no. Let's finish 7, 8, and 9. Let's do that. That's what this feels like more to me, just, at this stage anyway. So
we've gone way too long in fucking news.
We have, but we're done now. So we're going to talk about 1917. You ready to talk about 1917 anyway?
I could talk about 1917.
Let's talk about it. Written by Sam Mendes, Christy Wilson Cairns. Directed by Sam Mendes. Stars George McKay, Dean Charles Chapman, Mark Strong, Andrew Scott, Richard Madden, Claire Dubourg, Colin Firth, and Benedict Cumberbatch. $23 million for old Cumberbatch. 2 young British soldiers during the First World War are given an impossible mission deliver a message deep in enemy territory that will stop 1,600 men from walking straight into a deadly trap. We'll quickly touch on box office. It's doing very well. $37 million in its opening weekend, good for number one, dethroned Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker at that point. Domestically stands at $86.3 million as of recording this. Worldwide, it stands at $149.4 million. I think it was budgeted around 80, 90, 100, somewhere around there.
It had a budget. It did have a budget, you can tell.
And you could tell, absolutely. But I think it's doing pretty well overall. Even if that budget is, I think for what this movie is, the budget's probably more than what you'd kind of expect a movie like this to be made for.
For sure,
but it does. It does show.
It. Yeah,
and I think it's doing well enough that it's I think it's going to be considered a success story overall. And of course the accolades that I think are to come in terms of the award season. I think overall, I think everyone's going to be pretty happy with it. So the question I will ask you is, were you happy with 1917?
I was incredibly satisfied with this movie.
Okay.
To recent memory, I can't think of a better movie that I've watched. I can think of plenty of other movies that I really enjoy, you know what I mean? But it's like, holy shit, this is probably the best movie I've seen in a very long time.
Okay, so this knocked your socks off, is what you're saying.
This blew my fucking socks off. It blew them off. It didn't just like fucking peel them off. It blew them off. I was really interested in the cinematography in this movie. I had seen a couple of behind the scenes stuff around on the internets and stuff, and I was real excited to see. I was really interested to see how they picked it apart and how they edited it. And I didn't quite know that they were going to the extent of which they went to try to make it seem like one continuous take. And they did a very good job of it. And I think that it made a very interesting story. And that's kind of what the score was awesome. It was very well framed. It didn't quite go in the direction that I thought it was going to go as far as characters. Like, I was kind of taken back when certain things happened.
Okay.
One particular thing happened.
Save
Talk about it in
spoilers.
Yeah. But it ended in a way that I thought was very poetic. And this movie touched me in at least 3 different moments. It touched me for different reasons. And it was just a very, very fucking well-made movie. Skyfall was a beautiful movie. It didn't touch me at fucking all. Like, it was just, I didn't care for Skyfall. But this movie right here is just fucking ace. I mean, it's just aces, man. It's a really fucking good movie. It touches about a soldier's role and just like the morality of a soldier and the morality of a person, because ultimately a soldier is a person, I think, and it the cinematography is fucking beautiful. The sound design is incredible. And I only saw this on a fucking regular movie theater. I couldn't catch it in a premium format. And I think I would have just been blown away if I saw it on IMAX or Dolby or something like that. I would have been drooling on myself the whole movie, I think, because I was almost drooling on myself with the regular experience that I had. I just saw it at the Cobb in Wesley Chapel.
Still a cut above the Zephyr Hill Cinema.
Definitely still a cut above. I can't praise this movie enough. I think it was very good, and often, especially with like the turmoil and everything we have going on with like modern society and the things that are happening in like today, and the people that are fighting the wars of the people that are egging the shit on, and it really puts you in the boots of the person, and it really makes you feel for them because you can't help but think about what's happening today. and ultimately these people just want to get back to their family. They're just even on the opposite side. There's a moment where, you're looking at like the bunks of the people that you're fighting against, and those are they're just people, and it really makes you sympathize towards what the hell is going on. Really like war movies though. I feel like I might have a bias because I really, really enjoy a good war movie. And this is, I really do feel like this will go down in the books as a, Saving Private Ryan or, whatever, what are the big ones? What is it? I can't think of them. I can't think of the big ones. There's big Apocalypse Now is a big one. You have Full Metal Jacket, which is a big one.
It depends on the war, so.
Depends on the war, but ultimately, I think this will go down as a great war film. And just what it takes to be a soldier, and it's just a fucking really incredible movie. It's really good on a lot of different fronts. I mean, cinematography is incredible. Cinematography, it's a one-shot movie with a war movie. We've never got that before. We've never had a one-shot war movie. I mean, there's a couple of one-shot movies just in general, but never a war movie, which is just
but even then they're pretty rare in and of themselves.
Few and far between, right?
You usually get one cool sequence in a movie, and you're like, oh, but to kind of make that your focal point in terms of the
experience of a soldier,
how you present the movie. Yeah.
And it's not even that. It's the fact that, I mean, we can get it more into spoilers, but it's the fact that this one experience of this one soldier is told through one fucking take. And then it ends with one fucking take. It is just one thing. It encapsulates the experience of the thing, and it's to say that it's going to presume to be another thing, and it's really good. It's really, really, really good. And it's sad in a lot of other aspects. But either way, needless to say, I was very much impressed. Yeah. So what do you have to say about it? I've been lingering a lot, so go ahead.
I just kind of have a question for you, which will maybe kind of lead into my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Is this the kind of movie you think you'd want to watch again?
No. I don't want to watch this movie again.
And I feel the same way. And I because you're being so effusive in your praise for it, I was wondering if perhaps you felt differently in the sense of I was blown away by this movie. This is an intense movie. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. I saw it with Anna, and she was holding my hand, and she almost cut the circulation from my arm to my hand with how tightly she was squeezing me, because it was just such intensity with this movie. And I was kind of just like, I don't think I want to watch this again. Like, I'll buy it when it comes out. Like, this is going to be a 4K showcase, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
Like,
tour de force is the way these movies are described. I have
no inherent desire to just go back and like experience this movie again, because it's an experience. I think obviously I knew about the one take stuff coming in. Anna had no idea. She kind of picked up on it at a certain point. But it's interesting because I think that even though there was parts where I was looking and I was just like, oh, they disguised a cut there by sweeping behind next to the wall, and it's fine.
That's what you look for. That's what you look for.
I looked for it and I was appreciating it. It was like, oh, that was pretty well disguised. Like, well done. It was never like particularly egregious, in terms of just being like, okay. It wasn't so much that like look at this thing that we're doing because we can do it. I never really got caught up in that. I enjoyed it because it, in its own way, enhanced the nature of the film, which I think is kind of what you've said.
Yeah.
It's a war film, and to experience it in this manner, it's unprecedented, right? It's something you've never really been able to do.
Because the fucking soldier doesn't experience it in fucking takes. They experience it in one thing, You don't breathe in this movie. Like, there's maybe one sequence in this movie where things quiet down ever so slightly, but even then, you're still kind of on edge because there's always that lingering threat, as I'm sure there would be, in the enemy territory, of being like,
well, I'm still at risk anywhere I stand, even though I'm, maybe not making noise or I'm kind of off somewhere that is seemingly concealed from enemies' eyes. Like, no. There's still always that threat out there. There's always that risk that's inherent to just what I am doing, where I am, how I'm living, what this conflict is. And I think this movie does such a good job of demonstrating that. And I think that it's the use of technology doesn't feel so much like a gimmick as it could. It feels like a way to enhance the storytelling.
Yes.
Like it's a storytelling mechanism, and that's so cool to see. Now, don't get me wrong. It's super fucking impressive from a technical standpoint. Like I appreciate this movie for its artistry. You know what I mean? It's Roger Deakins is the fucking man. He's a cinematographer on this. This is not the first time Roger Deakins has done amazing fucking work. He's done a lot of stuff with our boy Denis Villeneuve. Blade Runner 2049, Sicario among those. Like, he is maybe the best at his profession. At the very least, one of the best. And
today,
this is,
right. Yeah.
Like, the work here is astonishing. And Sam Mendes' work here is astonishing.
Absolutely.
And I think beyond the behind the scenes stuff, I think you also need to take a look at what's in front of the camera. And I think you have really kind of, I would say, two basically unknown actors that kind of have to carry this movie. Yeah, there's some fucking big names in this movie, but they're not the focal points.
No.
The focal points are these two characters, these two young soldiers, George McKay and Dean Charles Chapman, a.k.a. Tommen Baratheon, in case you didn't recognize him.
Which one was he?
He was the one with the brother.
Okay.
That was that, yeah.
And then his brother was fucking Rob Baratheon, right?
Yeah, Rob Stark, but yeah.
Stark,
so some Game of Thrones connections there. So those two, I mean, I've seen one of them in Game of Thrones where he had a somewhat of a role. I guess he was technically part of the main series cast at one point in time, but like the other guy I'd never seen in anything. Looked him up after, and I was just like, no, this guy really hasn't been in a whole lot. He's been in a few things. It's not his first film role, but he was kind of the tour de force performance in this film, if nothing else. You know what I mean? Like, he carried the fucking weight of this movie on his shoulders. And when you're coming up against the likes of your Mark Strongs, your Colin Firths, your Benedict Cumberbatches, like that's impressive. And he had the most to work with. I think that's true too. This movie lives around him. Right? It's his story, so that makes sense. But I think that there's a version of this movie with a lesser performer and it doesn't work as well. So big props to him, and maybe props to Sam Mendes for finding this guy and the casting, team for finding this guy and letting him kind of own this movie in the way that he did. Really impressive. I mean, just a really, really impressive performance.
It's very good. It's very impressive.
It's an intense movie. It's a war film. It's a World War I film. I feel like we don't see as much World War I films because it's inherently not an exciting conflict, which is kind of, maybe that's a gross thing to say is, there's exciting and less exciting conflicts, but it's true in its own sense, in the sense that World War II is a bit more quote unquote sexier, in the sense that there's more warring forces. The battles themselves are you've seen so many depictions of them before.
But see the
action is just such a different thing. Like here, it's a lot of trenches, right?
And the
guns fucking suck. He can't hit fucking shit with the guns that they're using in this war, and it's such a different type of setting, one that almost inherently seems like it would lend itself less to, I don't know, actually, in its own weird sort of way. Like, I think it almost makes sense to have the one shot because they're, like even just the beginning of this movie is just like tracking them through the trenches, and like that's an interesting thing. Is just like just the literal walking, just the literal following them walking through these trenches, and it's just like that's just kind of a lot of World War I is just sitting in trenches
and the fucking disgustingness of it, right? The fucking
the filth and the horrors of war and everything are obviously kind of encapsulated with that. But
what a movie!
I think it's an incredible film. It's an incredible film for how it's made and the results of it. And it tells an interesting story too. It's a simple plot. Linearly told. Dunkirk, this is not. There are not three cross-cutting timelines or anything like that.
That's totally okay. It's very
right.
okay.
And I think that, you know, for what it was trying to do of just being like, even though like it's it still doesn't let you breathe, you know what I mean? Like there's always something happening. It's one thing to another, and like the tension is always there. It's, you know, it's kind of omnipresent throughout this film, and you know, it keeps you on your toes. Unexpected things happen. I don't know. It's a fucking journey, you know, to experience this movie. It's an experience, I guess. It's a journey, an experience, you know, whatever word you want to use. It almost transcends kind of what you expect films to do. Like, I don't know if that's being somewhat hyperbolic about it, but it really, I don't know that I've seen a film like it. You know, Birdman did the one-shot thing, but that was such a different movie that it felt like it was more concerned with, let's do it because we can do it. Whereas this feels like, oh, well, it's been done before. Yeah, we know we can do it, but let's fucking do it and do something with it. Like, that's, you know, going to add another dimension to this kind of thing. And I think that's what it did, is add another dimension. So very, very impressive. Very, very impressive film. So recommendation time, unless you have any other thoughts, non-spoiler wise.
Yeah, I just think this is just a very intelligent movie. There were quotes, I guess just one quote in particular that I was really taken back by, but I'm trying to look for it now, so maybe now's not the best time to ask me.
Do you want to maybe touch on that in spoilers? You want to move on into recommendation then?
Yeah,
or?
we can move on to recommendation.
All right, I'm not trying to rush you. I'll let you find your quote. I think the simple answer for recommendation is see this in theaters. Unfortunately, I can kind of echo what Andrew experienced in the sense that you're not going to be able to see this in a Dolby. You're not going to be able to see this in an IMAX at this point in time. I was lucky to catch it in Dolby kind of a day before it left that format, and absolutely incredible. But see this, I guess, the best way that you practically can, I guess, at this point, you know, in theaters. Find a nice theater you really like, theater you know is going to have quality audio and sound, and that's going to be the way to do it. And hopefully they crank that shit up a little bit to kind of emulate maybe some premium screen formats. But excellent film. Highly recommend seeing it. And whether you're considering it a successful way to begin 2020 or a high note to end 2019 on in terms of film, it's well worth your time. So, Andrew, what do you think recommendation wise?
I regret not seeing it in premium format.
Understandable.
There's scenes in this movie that I would have really loved to see in a proper format. I say proper because I feel like it would just, I don't know. I just think it would be the proper way to see it. It really is just a work of art. This movie is a work of art. A lot of passion was put into this movie, and I think you can tell it from cinematography to score to the acting. The whole shebang is incredible. Highly recommend. It is the best movie that I can recall seeing of 2019. I can't.
Wow. All right. Okay.
It really just thoroughly impressed me.
Spoiling our next episode already. All right.
It touched me in multiple different ways. Well, I don't want to spoil it. I'm watching some artsy movies after this.
You got something that may dethrone it, is what you're saying, at this point in time.
I'm trying to dethrone it, I will say. I'm trying to throw some stuff against it that I never got to see. So we'll see what happens for the next episode. But I will say that this is to date, this is the most incredible movie that I've seen this year. It is really a work of art. It's a tour de force, as they say.
High praise indeed. Let's do full spoilers for 1917. Have you happened to find the quote that you were searching for?
I have.
All right, well, let's hear
it. Down to Guyana, or up to the throne, he travels fastest who travels alone. And that is what King's Speech actor
Colin
Colin Firth delivers upon the two weary travelers who are going to travel behind enemy lines to deliver a message to.
It's a trap.
It's a trap, right? Exactly. That was the first quote that got me. It's very good. The second one that got me was the hymn. The hymn fucking made me cry, dude. Where he travels through the river. He's floating down the river, and then he crawls over the bodies of the fallen soldiers.
Right.
And then he just crawls his way to the guy that's singing in the forest. What an incredible moment. Holy shit. And he's talking about how he just flew over home. And I don't have the lyrics. I could probably find the lyrics if
oh no, you have to sing them too if you find them. That's how it works.
Okay, all right. Well, if I can find them, fuck it. All right.
I also feel like I feel like you said something about a moment. Was that the moment you're talking about? I feel like there was.
Are you talking about moments like that?
There was something you talked about in non-spoilers that we were like, well, we'll talk about it later. I wasn't sure if that was that.
Oh, yeah. So the moment that I was talking about non-spoilers was the moment where the character that you thought would be the main character was killed. He was stabbed in the stomach, and then the other guy had to take it over. I did not see that coming. It's not that particular part was terribly emotional. But I didn't think that the guy that ended up carrying the movie would carry the movie. I thought the other character would have been the main one.
Yeah, he kind of became the unexpected protagonist halfway through the movie.
Right, exactly. Yes, which was a really good move.
Like literally 10, 15 minutes earlier in the movie, he almost was buried alive under rubble.
Right.
So for him to like kind of come out of that. This guy saving him, and then everything kind of transpire the way that it does. Yeah, it's definitely kind of shocking in the moment, and then the movie really kind of fundamentally changes from that point in a way, right? Once it's the lone man's journey.
Definitely,
it's the quest not only to deliver this message of, hey, don't fucking rush into enemy territory. They're waiting for you. They've planned this.
It's the message
months.
of the fucking dude.
It's I have a message to deliver to the man who saved his brother, the man who saved me, his brother. I got to talk to him. I have a letter I need to write to his mom. Like there's so much that I still need to do. It's
the message of the wayfaring stranger, if you will. It's a very poetic situation. And the wayfaring stranger is the name of the song that they're singing in the forest.
I see. Okay.
And I'm trying to pull up the lyrics because it's terrible. It's so. You might not like these kind of movies that are just fucking saturated and just poetic fucking shit, because that's what this is. At one point we saw this movie with hold on a second. I'm pulling up the lyrics. We pulled up this movie, or we watched this movie with me, Sarah's father, and Sarah's sister's brother's boyfriend. Wait, hold on a second.
Father's cousin's nephew's roommate. All right,
whatever.
Got it.
Anyways, so we saw this movie with 4 people. They all really liked it. They all thought it was incredible. But what I'm trying to say is that what am I trying to say? I forget. Anyways, the lyrics for The Wayfaring Stranger is, I'm going to see my father. I'm going there no more to roam. I'm going over Jordan. I'm going over home. I know dark clouds will gather round me. I know my way is rough and steep, yet beauteous fields lie before me, where gods redeem their vigils keep. Anyways, I don't know. There's a lot of this stuff. Anyways, it's a beautiful song that captivates him and pulls him into the forest, and it's a really beautiful situation. I forget what I was There was a thing that I was going towards when I was describing this, and I totally forgot it.
Okay, well maybe we'll circle around back to it if If it comes back to you, feel free to cut me off at any point.
Yeah, totally.
I was just, we're in spoilers. That's just so much that kind of happens in this movie in the span of, I guess, a couple hours. But it's also intense. It starts kind of nonchalantly, just kind of walking through the trenches. You get a sense of the world as it is, and then you get this message, that you have to deliver and blah, blah, blah. And then kind of like once the journey starts, there's just such moments of intensity. Like it just ratchets things up to 11, crossing no man's land. Once they go back into like the German encampment, their trenches, a fucking rat of all things, a giant rat, triggers this explosion, which is kind of like the first like, holy shit moment, I think, in this whole movie. And, this guy nearly gets buried alive. They come out, they go out to this farmhouse, and then boom, here's the fucking, planes overhead, dogfighting. Turns into, obviously, the sequence we described where, he gets stabbed to death. But it's all, the point is, like...
He was trying to save the fucking German soldier.
Right, and that's so interesting. It's like... It's an American, or I guess it's a British soldier trying to show a little bit of compassion and morality in the middle of a heinous conflict and not receiving it in kind, obviously.
That's it. And, and the guy, the guy that has to carry on the torch has to live with that.
Yeah. Well, I think he suggested, like, we should kill him. I think he did, didn't he?
He did.
When he comes down on the plane and thinks, well...
No, get this guy some fucking water. It's okay.
Yeah.
He's just a fucking person. And that I don't know. It just breathes a whole nother dimension to the characters in this movie.
Yeah.
It's really fucking good.
I think the kind of couple things that stand out to me, kind of like once shit hits the fan, like it really never really lets up. Like there's a sequence where there's a guy on like the tower or something like that over the bridge. Like that's intense. Just the sound design there with the gunshots kind of rattling out.
Yeah.
Are really crazy. And there's the part where the flares are lighting things up and like it's just visually incredible.
Where he's running through the fucking ruins of the city.
Yeah. It's totally insane, completely insane. And just like his, he runs into the German soldier, and the German soldier's just like, huh? What's going on? And, he has to strangle him, basically, just being like, hey, the intensity is just really unparalleled there. I think one of my favorite moments in this film, maybe perhaps my equivalent of kind of, I think what you've talked about with like the hymn maybe, is the scene where he finds the woman with the baby. Like I think it's like one of the quietest moments in this film. It's like right after, he, I guess, escapes narrowly from someone that's shooting at him, a German soldier shooting after him. And he stumbles in this with the French woman, they have a little bit of difficulty understanding each other. He's not exactly fluent in French or anything like that. But it's just kind of, again, this moment of compassion and in a sequence in a movie that otherwise is kind of devoid of it by design because it's a war film, and compassion usually doesn't find it's usually a bad idea, when it's life or death situations you find yourself in. And I think that whole sequence is really compelling in and of itself, but I think that the last moment of this film makes you go back and think about that sequence in context of, oh shit, he's got a wife and kid. And I think that it really drives that sequence home in terms of,
right? Like
you get a sense in the moment of like, oh, this isn't the first time he's held a baby before, right? He seems to have some sense for being a parental figure there, but you don't really get the full context of it until the end, and it kind of makes the whole movie obviously kind of even more deeper, I guess, in some ways, because you get what he's fighting for and why he's fighting and his totally. Even especially I guess the moment maybe earlier when he's like yelling at him like, why the fuck did you pick me, like you fucking asshole kind of thing, when he almost dies. It's just like, hey, I have a lot to live for. And it's not to say that most of these assholes don't have anything to live for. I'm sure they do, but he's our guy, right? He's our main character. To see him, to know him, to experience this with him, like, and then
But at that particular
last moment,
you're not thinking about that.
You're not.
At that particular,
Well, you don't know about that.
You don't know about anything of it
until the end.
That's what makes it so much more deeper. It's just a fucking deep movie, man.
Like you feel for this guy, and then when you get that's the extra wrinkle that makes you, pause and think, oh fuck. And and that's kind of the human angle to this film. I think it does a really great job with the human angle of this film of, even though I don't think that there's a lot of overt characterization through.
It's all very subtle.
It's subtle. It's more, tics and mannerisms and stuff like that, and reactions and stuff like that. And there's a little bit of dialogue and stuff like that here and there, maybe more towards the beginning. But
it's archetypes is what this movie's about.
It's not so concerned with making you feel for, each character. It's more like bringing you on this journey, this arduous journey, and letting you live in the moment and experience that for just a couple hours of your life. And it's not the same as being out there. Obviously, it would have been, but it gives you enough of that to just make you feel enough that
to give it a little understanding.
It's just powerful. It's powerful filmmaking. I think is just kind of what it ultimately
because
is.
I mean, I think the most poetic thing I've seen is the biggest criticism I've heard about this movie is the way it ended. Like maybe, I would have enjoyed seeing him and go back to his family at the end of the movie or this or that. And I think that it would have been... No. The movie ended just as it began. It began with him waking up from sleeping against the tree. Mm-hmm. Waking up. It began with him going to sleep against the tree. That's to say that tomorrow he's going to wake up against the tree and do this shit again. And that's where I say the most.
And maybe he doesn't get back home. You know what I mean? Like that's a very real possibility. This is just a day in the life, and what a day it was, and maybe you got
how
to do it
blessed
again.
he was to have this day, right? I mean, this was the fucking journey that he went on today, and tomorrow's another journey.
And ultimately,
friend.
We won't know what happens to Schofield beyond the events of this movie, but we know that his actions saved lives, within the context of this story. I do have one, I'm mostly kind of out of things to talk about. The one thing I think is super fucking interesting about this is that this isn't really based off of anything specifically. Like, it feels like a historical film.
No, there was that thing at the end, right? That was Mendes? Is that the filmmaker's family?
Yeah, so the film is maybe probably a more appropriate fun fact than our fun fact that we gave earlier. But basically, the movie was written based off of a story that Sam Mendes' grandfather told to him.
Wow.
And that's it. Like, there was like an inkling of an idea from like, hey, this is like some war story that I told, and he built off of that and crafted this entire movie out of just kind of that inkling of an idea. So most of this movie is fiction. Like in complete fiction, these characters are fiction. The German retreat, not fiction, but again, there's a grain of truth to kind of the sequence of events and how they played out, and like certain things that happened within this movie. But for the most part, this is all just kind of, I don't know. I feel like most war movies are like, this is a battle. This is how the battle played out. Dunkirk's a real fucking thing that happened. You know what I mean? And this is not that. It's totally different. But it's also interesting because it emulates it so well that if you told me this was based off of a book that this fucking guy wrote, I would have bought it hook, line, and sinker.
It's very much not a story of the actual fucking battle or whatever. It's about the fucking person that went through it.
Yeah,
for sure. And that's what I think. That's there's something to be said about a war movie that this is the battle. This is the prowess of the commanders and their strategic ability and this and that, or whatever. But it's another thing to tell the story about two people that went down to one person that made something happen, and that's, it's like I said, it's a really touching story. That one moment, dude, when he when he got out of the river, and there was all those fucking he had buried the guy, or he didn't bury the guy, but that one dude was attached to the fucking cherry blossoms or whatever. And then when he's floating down the river, and he's just tired and he's wore out, and that guy's the hymn calls him into the forest, and there's all the cherry blossoms and stuff. It was perfect. It was so good.
Yeah.
Such a good movie.
Yeah. No, I just think it's so interesting that, again, I feel like this absolutely feels like something like based off of like an autobiographical novel or something like that. But it's I don't know. The fact that it feels so authentic in spite of not really being authentic in terms of the story it's telling, but it feels authentic in other ways, and I think that's why it works so well. Is it feels so well realized that letting you live and experience the story in this way, makes you feel like you're there. So, 1917. Any final thoughts, spoiler wise, for yourself?
Nope. I think we witnessed an incredibly potent movie. I think it was, anyways. A super, super fucking good movie. Really good movie. I am very happy to have seen that movie. And I'm happy to have called it. I saw the trailer in theaters and stuff. I was like, yeah, this is going to be a really good movie. And lo and behold, it was. I feel good about that, too.
Well, I can again co-sign and say that was, in fact, a really good movie. So, go see 1917 in theaters. I think that's certainly the bottom line, certainly our recommendation. I would like to do something that we haven't done in a little while, if that's okay with you. I'd like to check in with the Listener's Corner. Oh, the Listener's Corner? We have one of those? It's been a minute. I've had some thoughts have been sent to me and to you, actually, for that matter, over the past few weeks, and I know I just haven't had the opportunity to chat them out. So I think now's a good time for that. We're running a little bit long, so I'll keep it brief. But Bruce Brown, regular contributor to the Listener's Corner, has told us about a few things that he's been watching. He says Zombieland Double Tap, which we did an episode on, was fun. Okay, yeah, good choice. Fun. Angel Has Fallen with old Jerry Butler in it. He says, I don't know about that. He says it was fair, quote unquote fair. Right. Not high on my list personally. He has seen Lost in Space Season 2, which I don't think either of us have seen. Describes it as good, not amazing, which is about how Season 1 was, I believe, at least in my estimation. So, all right. Dirty John, another television show with Connie Britton and Eric Bana, he says is good. And he says Marvelous Mrs. Maisel Season 3 was excellent. So, wow. So lots of effusive praise for a few things there. And then there's also Angel Has Fallen. It's fair. And last but not least, he's watched, I believe it's a documentary on Hulu called Batman and Bill. It's about Bill Finger's involvement in the creation of Batman, which for the longest time was basically like under the radar. Like Bob Kane was just like, I fucking created Batman, and Bill Finger was just like, who the fuck's this asshole? And then I think finally recently, like Bill Finger is actually getting credited because apparently he had a pretty large part in creating the character. So there's a doco on that on Hulu, which he says is very good. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of an interesting subject. We like Batman, so maybe that's something to check out sometime. We do, yeah. So that's what he's got, and our good pal Henrique Jamie also has a few things to say about a few movies. He says Paddington 2 was delightful, and he prefaces that by saying, "Holy shit." So, holy shit, Paddington 2 was delightful. I've heard both Paddingtons are delightful. Have not seen either, but I would like to watch them. Holy shit, so fucking delightful. He adds that Marriage Story and Little Women are both really good. I will be seeing Little Women this upcoming weekend, and I would like to watch Marriage Story before we get around to watching before we do our 2019 episode, and it is on Netflix, if that's anything that appeals to you as well. Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson. Yeah, that's the one where Adam Driver walked out of the interview, right? Yes. Okay. Uncut Gems he has seen. He calls it quote unquote insane and amazing. Wow. And last but not least, Weathering with You, the follow-up to Your Name, Makoto Shinkai. He says, well, Weathering with You didn't fuck me up like Your Name did, which it did for us. But he says it can still function, which still I think reads as a good review. I don't know if we had much more on that, but it sounds like maybe not as much of an emotional response, but certainly not a negative one overall, I wouldn't say. So that's the listener's corner. So there's a few recommendations in there, certainly, if anyone's looking for anything. And thanks to Bruce and Henry for sending us some things. If you want to be part of the listener's corner, watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. Send us thoughts on anything you've been watching, playing recently, whatever. We're all ears. We like to talk about that. And, sometimes there's things in there that we don't really think about, haven't seen, aren't aware of.
I.e. Marriage Story, Little Women, or Uncut Gems. I haven't thought much about that, but that's a thing I probably should watch. Those are things to
look into.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe those are things to look into. We can move on. Have you been up to anything exciting since we last recorded?
So,
seen anything exciting?
Did you know that I watched the first season of You?
I believe you talked about it. I'm not. Yes, you had watched the first season last. You talked about it, but you had not seen the second season.
I have not started the second season. Okay. So we talked about that already.
We did. You did. Okay. You did mention it.
It was pretty good.
That's correct.
Liked it. It was pretty
Still good. All right. Opinion hasn't changed. Always good to know.
What else do we have? I did watch a little movie called Parasite.
Okay.
I was thoroughly entertained.
About time.
I was thoroughly entertained with that movie. Thought it was a good movie.
Did you go digital with it? Is that how you ended up watching it?
Yeah. So I just fucking bought it on the Amazons. I'm gonna watch Lighthouse. That's the second movie that I
want to watch before we record next.
Yeah, there's that's gonna leave some overlap with Uncut Gems, Little Women, and Marriage Story. Excuse me, but I feel after I watch Lighthouse, I think I'm gonna watch everything I really wanted to watch. Like, those were two movies that Jojo Rabbit's one that I really wanted to watch as well. But that one's not available until February 2nd. And I don't think we're going to go that long. So,
yeah, probably not. Although a lot of these movies, and this is just kind of a PSA, I guess, for our listeners as well. A lot of the movies that were nominated for Academy Awards and stuff like that, a lot of them are coming back to cinemas. I think usually AMC Regal do like their own mini film festival for the Best Picture nominees and such, and I know a lot of them are just kind of back in somewhat limited capacity. I know Parasite, Jojo.
I can tell you, Parasite.
They're still playing. They're still playing around me. So you might be able to find them if you happen to miss out the first time around. It may not be too late, I guess, is what I'm saying. So
I wish Jojo was available. I'd watch Jojo before we recorded, because that was something I was super interested in.
And that's another one. If you find the time, it may be playing one or two showtimes. Somewhat near you. So worth looking into if it's something you can find time for.
Either way, though, I've got
a lot of time. A lot of things to watch.
Parasite, watched it. We'll give that opinion at some point. And I think that's really about it, besides you. Watched another episode of The Expanse. I heard The Expanse is quite awesome.
And so that puts
it was so funny. Did I tell you about this? So I told Sarah's dad about The Expanse.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, well, I watched the first couple episodes, and I was like, I wasn't kind of interested. It would just kind of lost me. And I said, listen, give it 4 to 5 episodes before you write it off, because it is an incredible show. It is so good. It's like a Game of Thrones in space. He's like, okay, well, I'll give it a shot. So anyways, we left on vacation. We came back, and I talked to him, and he had watched all of season 1, all of season 2, all of season 3, all of season 4. He's now beyond me, and he's finished up, I guess, season 4 on Amazon. And he says it is fucking incredible. He loves it. Her dad absolutely loves the show.
Well, I do believe this is the second time our listeners might be hearing this story, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless,
well, then
it's a good tale nonetheless.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's an inspirational tale of go watch the fucking Expanse. What are you waiting for?
Yeah, so I watched
the bottom line.
I watched another episode, just one episode.
Okay,
so I think
you're 3 or 4 in, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I'm capped. I don't think I have anything else then to say.
Okay, all right. Well, very good then. I do have a few things to say, not a whole lot, but a few things. To be somewhat responsive to the listener's corner, I have seen Uncut Gems.
Is it good?
That's the last thing I've seen in theaters. Insane and Amazing is relatively close to what I would react. I think Insane is probably
With Adam
more what I'd lean
Sandler?
towards. With Adam Sandler, that's the one.
Wow. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's really fucking well made. It's I've heard people say that it's a stressful movie, and I think that I wouldn't agree with that assessment. 1917 is a stressful movie. And Uncut Gems is a frustrating movie, not in terms of it being bad, but just in terms of every 30 seconds, it's a character making the absolute dumbest possible decision in their life. And there's a lot of consequences that basically follow as a result of the combination of these very dumb decisions that compound one upon each other. It's interesting, it's a hectic movie. It's one thing after another, and it's always kind of one-upping itself in terms of how could this get worse, and it does. So it's pretty entertaining. It's longer than I expected it was. It's a fun kind of twist on it. There's like one real life event that it kind of works its plot around, and it's very bizarre, but also like hilarious and really entertaining and really kind of well woven into the story. Makes more sense if you've seen it. I enjoyed it. I think it's worth seeing. And I think it's getting a lot of praise, and I think it's deserved. I rewatched Your Name because I am preparing to see Weathering with You. Was in fact going to see it. Went to the theater to see it, but the bastards at AMC decided to not play previews in front of it. So when I walked in, I walked my happy ass in at 2:15 for a 2:00 showing, thinking, oh, there's going to be a couple more previews. It was fully in the movie, and I was just like, oh fuck. This is in Japanese. I have no idea what's going on. So I'm going to be seeing it tomorrow, in fact, Japanese with English subtitles.
Your Name or what?
Weathering with You.
What is the deal with Weathering with You? What is that?
I'll tell you about it on the next episode, because I don't know.
So
I saw a trailer for it a while back.
What's the trailer say? What is it? Is it a sequel or what?
No, I don't think it's a sequel. I don't know enough about it. I just know it looks...
It's just an anime emotional fucking movie? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's the same director. It's a similar animation style. I'm expecting kind of something along those lines with a different plot. It's kind of like that's all I really know about it. I've kind of kept myself blinded to it.
Okay.
And since I'm seeing it so soon, I don't really feel the need to dive any deeper before walking in. So yeah, I'll report back on Weathering with You, and we'll see if it fucks me up. I watched Your Name the second time around just now. I watched it with the English dub. I'd watched it in Japanese the first time around. So good. I felt like I was more emotionally impacted the first time, and probably a lot of that is just the novelty of it and not knowing what's going to come with it. It'd been a little while since I'd seen it, so it still got me pretty emotional at parts.
Did you watch it with Anna?
I did. It was her first time watching it. So
what did she think?
She really liked it. Like she didn't know a shit about Weathering with You, didn't really care about it, and then she watched Your Name and she was like, we got to see this fucking movie. So that was kind of her reaction, is needing more in that vein. So I agree.
Good reaction.
We did a double feature recently of Kill Bill Volumes 1 and 2.
Yes.
I know that Kill Bill Volume 1, I believe, is in your top 5 of all time, personally.
I love Kill Bill, dude. Such a good movie.
I hadn't seen Volume 2, I guess, in a long time, because I remembered most of Volume 1, and then Volume 2 was just like, I don't remember really most of this.
Punching the hole in the box.
Yeah,
gets out.
Punching the hole in the box. The Grandmaster, with his beard, and he's always
eyebrows.
With the eyebrows. Yeah, he's just totally ridiculous. I was just like, wow, I don't really remember any of this. So I feel like I've only seen it. I must have only seen it once.
No way.
A long time ago. The Volume 2, I think I've seen Volume 1 more than once, but Volume 2, I think I must have only just seen one time before, because of how little I recalled from it. I think a lot of the iconic moments are from Volume 1. I think the ending sequence with like the Crazy 88, that whole the fighting sequence, the bride, and like the yellow and black suit. Like I think there's a lot of a lot of the imagery that you associate with Kill Bill, I think, derives from Volume 1. But
That's
they're
fair.
both excellent. Super fucking cool movies. Really, really enjoyed it. It was a good time. I'm glad because I bought them on Steelbooks. They had 2 Steelbooks that Best Buy put them out in, and I had been waiting to get like the cool Steelbooks. They finally went on sale around Black Friday time and got them. And we'd been as a group of us law school people that were planning on doing this big kind of
that's a cool fucking thing to have.
So
yeah.
So we went for it. We finally did it. We committed. And
does anybody have a Kill Bill sword though?
No, the only person that I know that has a Hattori Hanzo sword is Andrew Meadows. So
Hattori Hanzo.
Hattori Hanzo.
I do have a Hattori Hanzo sword. It's fucking cool.
I have wielded your Hattori Hanzo sword.
I pride
myself
myself in having a Hattori Hanzo sword. As I drink my wine, I'm slightly inebriated.
I know all about your pride in your Hattori Hanzo sword. Last but not least, I am now caught up on The Good Place season 4, its final season. I believe there's 2 or 3 more episodes to air. I guess one actually probably has aired the night that we're recording this, so I guess maybe technically I'm now behind again, but great show. I've talked about it multiple times in the past. This current season, I'm definitely enjoying. Very curious to see how things wrap up, and watch the first 3 seasons. They're all on Netflix. Season 4 will probably be up there at some point. And, it's kind of the last, like, I guess, quote unquote, half hour, like, comedy that I've watched in a good while. It's really kind of scratched that itch of something I don't think I knew that I had that itch, but in watching it, I'm really
This was an Anna
it.
thing, right?
Yes, she had seen the first few seasons, and so I kind of caught up mostly with her as she kind of rewatched, and it's a good recommendation. And Henry had also mentioned it in the past of really enjoying it. So it's usually I find when multiple people are pushing me in the direction of you got to do it, you got to do it. I'm like, peer pressure. I got to do it. So Clone Wars, Avatar, it's all kind of. That's kind of the same feeling right now. So it's just a matter of time, I think, with those. I think that's it. Longer episode than anticipated, but that's okay. Lots of news, lots of Star Wars, more Star Wars than anticipated, which is to say that we didn't anticipate any. But there you have it, folks. Thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please spread the word. Patreon, if you want to support us on Patreon, you can head to watchreviewrepeat.com, our website, or patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat. $2 a month will get you access to any forthcoming bonus episodes, as well as early access to all regular episodes. So Andrew and I believe, have sort of discussed this in the past, but I don't know that we've really hashed it out. But I'm just going to go for it on air, because why not? We want to do episodes on The Mandalorian and The Witcher.
I like talking about
each
that
season.
Shit.
And I think what we may end up doing, or at least what I think would be a fun thing to do, is maybe we'll just sit down and record those when we can. We'll put them up on the Patreon for anyone that has the Patreon, and then we'll get them up to the regular listeners at some point. But they'll be kind of pseudo bonus episodes for January, February, if we can get them up in the next couple of weeks, and then we'll put them up. If we have like an off week or something like that. For the regular feed. So eventually, folks will be able to listen to it, but it's something that, we'll have those in our back pocket. And for those that really, really, really need to know our thoughts on those two, they'll have the way to do it. $2 a month ain't bad. Or you can just stick around and wait for it to come out. Totally up to you.
I think the next big one is going to be the 2019 year in review episode. I think that's going to be the big one.
Yes, that will be a regular episode. So yes, we're gonna
between now and then it's gonna be that's got to be the next one, right?
Yeah, the next episode we're gonna do is the year in review, and then we'll hopefully follow it up with a look ahead to 2020's movies as well. What we've done historically, I think we'll do. So you can expect probably a pretty lengthy episode for both of those, as is probably consistent with our tradition. But we're just two assholes that like to talk, like to babble, and it is what it is. But we have fun doing it, and we hope everyone has fun listening. Hopefully. Last few things: questions, comments, suggestions, listeners' corner, anything like that. WatchReviewRepeat@gmail.com, or you can tweet at us at WRRPod. Send us messages on Facebook. Comment on our page on Facebook. Just search for Watch Review Repeat. Intro and outro track. Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. And as Andrew mentioned, next episode will hopefully be that 2019, a year in review. So look forward to that. Until then.
Take care now. Bye-bye then.
Laters on the Menjay.